Hello, and welcome to Working with What You Got. I'm your host, Renee Joshua Porter, and I am so glad that you decided to join us today. Remember, our program is all about you realizing you have more than you think you have. You have more time, you have more talent, you have more resources, you have more money, you have more food, and you have more people on your side. And it is time for you to not your mind. I can't tell you how excited I am today because one of my little sisters, I call her one of my little sisters, in Georgia gave me a call. And she is joining us today, and she's going to share a little testimony and a recipe with us that we're going to cook today. So her name is Tandiway Vasquez. I call her Tandy. Tandy, she doesn't have Skype, so she's going to be with us via our telephone today. Say hello to everyone, Tandy.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, so now tell them your story. Tell them what you told me.
Well, basically, I watched the Working with What You Got episode a couple of weeks ago when Renee put together a dirty rice with leftover rice and different items that she had. And so yesterday, I'm a mom of five, I also have a grandchild. It was a long work week for me, and I was very, very tired. And after coming inside around close to 6 o'clock, I realized that I didn't have enough to cook. And I was exhausted. It was a tiresome day and a very long week. And I said, what am I going to do? These children have to eat. And I remembered the episode of Working with What You Got as far as with the dirty rice. So I went into my kitchen and I discovered that I had some leftover taco meat from the previous night. Now the good thing was it was a good amount of taco meat, but like I said, I have five children, a grandchild. It wasn't enough taco meat, and the goal was to make sure that we had adequate protein so everybody was full. So I said, man, well, I have this leftover taco meat, but then I looked into my cabinet and I had some black beans. And I know that beans are protein. I said, okay, well, this will definitely make up for the protein component. And then I looked in my cabinet some more, and I had some tomatoes. And they were, low-salt tomatoes. And I was like, wow. And then I saw some corn. So in my mind, I started thinking of this medley of a Southwestern dish. And then I said, but wait a minute. I don't have rice. I can't make dirty rice. And I had a bunch of potatoes. So I said, instead of rice, I'm going to use potatoes. And so instead of dirty rice, we're going to call it dirty potatoes.
All right.
So, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
And so my juices, my creative juices were flowing. I was very excited. So I cut up the potatoes, and I cut them up at, a reasonably small size, not tiny, but not big. And then I cut them up, and I put some oil in a pan as if I was making home fries. And I fried those potatoes up with some onions. And while the potatoes and the onions were cooking, I went to my other pot where the leftover taco meat was. I used ground turkey, and I looked at that, and then I opened up the can of beans, and I drained some of the water out of that, and I put it inside the taco meat. And then I drained the water out of the corn, and I put that in the taco meat, and some of the water out of the tomatoes, and I put that in the taco meat, and I was stirring it all around. And then I remembered that Renee always says that your plate should look like a rainbow. It should have different colors in it. And so I looked in the refrigerator, and I had a whole big bunch of cilantro. And cilantro, I found out, is loaded with nutrients and has a lot of things that are really good for you. So I took the fresh cilantro out, I rinsed it off, cut it up, I put it in that the dish with the taco meat and beans and corn and tomatoes. Meanwhile, the potatoes were cooking. I added some salt to the potatoes, that's it. And then I took the potatoes out, I drained them on a bunch of paper towels because I just didn't want any excess oil. And after I drained and took off the excess oil, I put the potatoes inside the mixture with the taco meat and beans and everything was already cooking. And I combined the two, and I let it cook some more slowly. And voila, we had a delicious meal. I used what I had, saved myself money, which is great because I love to save money. I didn't have to spend anything extra at the store. I saved gas, which was great. But most important, I saved myself time. And I thought about how Renee always starts the show with you have more time than what you think you have. And in the beginning, before I discovered, this dish, I was like, I'm so tired. I don't have the time to go to the store. I've been running all day. I saved myself time, which is so valuable. And it was awesome because we ate. I was able to stay inside without having to go out for anything and just enjoy the rest of my Friday night.
Well,
So I am so grateful for this show.
Tandy, thank you. So now you said that procedure really fast. So I'm going to slow it down a little bit for our audience. I already pre-fried, based on what you told me, I already fried and caramelized my onions. So I have my onions diced up and I have my potatoes diced up and they're fried and over to the side. So now I'm taking my taco meat, which is my ground turkey, and I'm putting it in my pan. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. And
It's already seasoned. Now, when Tandy gave her story, she said that it was leftover taco meat. Well, guess what? I didn't have taco seasoning, but I had fajita seasoning. So I put the little fajita seasoning in there when I cooked it because, again, it's working with what you got. So I have my ground turkey in here. Instead of my taco seasoning, if you have taco seasoning, use that. I use my fajita seasoning. Now, what else am I putting in after that?
After you put the fajita seasoning, the taco meat cooking, once the taco meat is finished cooking, you're going to take a can of black beans.
Black beans, I drained it. I have the black beans, and I'm putting it in there with the turkey, right?
Yes, once the turkey meat is cooked.
It's cooked. It's already cooked.
Okay, good. So now you're going to put the black beans in there. Then you're going to take the corn.
Okay, hold on.
You're going to drain the water out of the corn.
Hold on 1 minute. I want to make sure they can hear you because our pan is sizzling. So we took our ground meat that's already cooked, which is turkey. It already has fajita seasoning, or if you have taco seasoning, you put it in there. Now we add to our protein because remember one of the things she said was she felt like she didn't have enough meat. She wanted to make sure she had adequate protein for her family of 5. So we add our black beans in there. After that, we already drained our corn. So we're going to put our corn in here.
Yes, and then you're going to get your tomatoes.
Okay, now she said she had a can of tomatoes. What I had was plum tomatoes, so I diced up plum tomatoes. I happen not to really be a fan of canned tomatoes, but if canned tomatoes are what you have, you work with that. But the process that they use to can tomatoes isn't actually the healthiest. So if possible, try to go for fresh tomatoes, or if you want to do tomatoes in a jar. So I have 2 diced plum tomatoes. All right, so I have my turkey, I have my black beans, I have my tomatoes. What else am I doing?
Okay, and the corn.
The corn. I have my corn. Everything is sizzling up. This joint is jumping. I got it.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, now what you want to do is you have a burst of cilantro, and you want to, cut it up.
It's already diced up.
It already is? Okay, so now you're going to add the cilantro to that mixture, and then you're going to stir it up around and let it cook for a few minutes.
I have to show this to the camera because if this is not the rainbow, I don't know what is. This is so beautiful. I'm just going to lift it up and hopefully it doesn't slide out and make a mess. Look at that.
That's how it looked when I did it. I couldn't believe how great it looked. I was like, wow, this looks great. I mean, it was so colorful.
It's colorful, but also the smell of cilantro is the bomb diggity. I love it. I mean, now cilantro, I realize, is something not everyone loves. Like, say, for instance, my dad. He does not like cilantro, but I love cilantro.
Yeah,
love
I
it,
do
love
too.
it.
I'm a big fan of it, and it makes everything, not everything, but a lot of dishes, like these type of dishes, taste really good. This is more like a Southwest, dish.
So actually, she gave this a title. She calls this Southwestern Dirty Potatoes. All right now. Okay, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. You are so creative. Okay, so I have sizzling here. Now, I want to just give this little sidebar about cilantro. Cilantro sometimes can be like cumin. I don't know if you remembered a couple of weeks ago, I talked about cumin, how cumin is really tasty, but it can be intrusive. So if you're a fan of cilantro, be liberal with it. If you want it to just be a nice side, just an accent, do it, gingerly, because it can be overpowering at times. Am I correct, Tan?
Yes. Yes, it can be too much. If not, it's depending upon your taste buds and what you like. If you're not a big cilantro fan, or it can overtake a dish.
This is beautiful. Okay, so I have everything sizzling. I have my tomatoes, I have my corn, I have the black beans, I have the ground turkey, and I have my cilantro. Now, what am I going to do?
I don't know if you salted the potatoes yet. You put a little bit of salt on them.
Yes, they have that.
Okay, great. So now what you're going to do is you're going to incorporate the potatoes and the onions with that whole mixture, and then stir it around and let it cook up for a few, so it can all get hot and just blend.
Oh, Tandy, this is looking beautiful already. I think you have come up with something that looks like it might be on the menu at one of these restaurant chains. This is pretty
Yeah,
and
I thought so. I
wholesome.
really liked it a lot. It turned out very well. I was so pleased. I was pleased the way it tasted. I was pleased that my children enjoyed it. And again, I was also pleased that I was able to do all this without leaving my house, without spending extra money, and just doing what I really wanted to do was just stay home because it was Friday and I had a long week and I wanted to relax. That plan didn't get interrupted.
Beautiful. Well, you know what? You know, every episode we always have somebody tasting, and we have James, who is one of our engineers and a great guy here at Madhouse, and he said he would be our taster.
Hi,
So,
James.
all right, James, are you ready? Okay. He said, James, he's great. He's so jolly. I love jolly people. All right.
How we doing? Oh, what do we got here?
Yeah.
Ooh. Hold on.
Okay, come on close because they want to be able to hear your
Okay, you
thoughts.
ready?
We're ready. I hope you like fingers crossed, Candy. Here we go. It's hot.
Mmm. Oh yeah, the Irish in me loves the potatoes.
Yeah. Oh,
But I love. Oh, nice. What's that seasoning you were saying is in here?
I had a little fajita seasoning. Is it too pungent? Is it too
No,
salty?
no.
Is it good?
Very good.
It is. Yeah.
I'm gonna take this with me. If
Okay.
you don't mind?
Can I give you some more?
Sure.
Oh, all right. We've got to make sure that we have a plate
Thank you.
for Tom, who's the owner of
All right,
Madhouse.
Tom.
We got to make
Hey,
sure
Tom.
we hook Tom up.
Oh yeah. Thank you. This is awesome.
So, do you feel like the flavors blend well?
Now, what do we have?
We have
black
corn,
bean. I got that.
black beans,
And the corn.
potatoes, ground turkey, corn, cilantro,
Cilantro.
and
What
onions.
now?
Cilantro, that's that.
Ah, very good. I
Yeah?
just caught it today. I'm not sure what it was.
You wasn't okay.
I know.
Now you know.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. He says the Irish in him loves the potato.
Hmm
All right.
Thank you, dear.
Tandy, you have a winner here. Thank you so much,
All right.
James. Tandy, you have a winner. You have
Yay,
created.
I'm so excited.
Look at this. Tandy worked with what she got, and she looked at our episode. She saw that we made dirty rice. She said, you know what? I don't have rice, but what do I have? And she realized that she has creativity. She had potatoes, she had onions, and she put it together, and she came up with Southwestern dirty potatoes. It's delicious. I'm telling you, you have more than you think you have. Take the limits off. Take the fear out of your mind. Take the knots out and just go for it. And look at that. She saved time. She saved money. She was able to relax. Her family of 5 was fed. And on top of that, she created a new dish. And she feels good about herself.
I
am
really do.
excited.
I'm very excited.
All right. We'll be right back after this commercial. Thank you so much, Tan.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
We have with us a guest all the way from Maryland, and her name is Shantae Miller Christopher. I just want to give a little background. I actually met Shantae, I think it was about 4 years ago. Maybe, was it 4 or 2 years ago I met Shantae, and she left an impression in me because she had such a story of triumph and such a spirit of an overcomer. I was just so impressed by her. We met one time and we kind of stayed in contact via email or sometimes text, and now Facebook keeps everybody connected. But I was just determined that I would have a platform at one point that Shantae would be able to tell her story. There's certain people that you meet along the way that their stories are so encouraging that you know that you want other people to be blessed by it. And she's one of those people. So she's joining us today via Skype. Shantae, please say hello to our audience.
Hello, everyone, and hello, Renee. Nice to see you.
Okay, Shantae, tell us a little bit about yourself. Bring our audience up to speed about who you are.
Okay, who am I? Well, just a brief background. I was a very, very troubled child growing up. Had suffered many sexual abuses, and I turned to drugs and alcohol. Not too long after that, I received the Lord into my life after almost dying. So after about 19 years old, I started on my quest to find God, to know Him for myself. And on that road, my family has a history of mental illness, and so I've dealt with mental illness along that road. But God had gave me victory. I overcame many trials and tribulations, and I was in real estate. I was in business. I was doing very, very well, and I finally got to a place where I was really, really, really good about myself and about things that was going on in my life. And 3 years into it, I had something called a pseudo tumor. Is where my spinal fluid went to my brain and it crushed my optic nerves. And so I was left with 70% loss in one eye and 25% loss in the other. So it crushed my world.
Okay, here you are. You've had this major victory, different perils that affected your family. You're feeling triumphant. You're like, I got it going on. I have my faith intact. I have a successful business. And now, here's a tumor. And pretty much you end up like with 75% vision lost. Almost what would be considered legally blind. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, so now what's going through your mind? Because a lot of times you hear when people have their faith or they love the Lord, they think, they're Superman, they can jump off the building in a single bound, and now this happens. How do you feel?
Well, at first, I felt like that. I felt, this is going to be over. It's only going to last a minute. It's not going to be that long of a struggle or trial. I'm going to overcome this because I have strong faith. I still have strong faith, and I still believe God is going to bring complete healing. But I was looking for a quick fix, and I'm just going to do this. And it didn't happen as quickly as I thought. I mean, actually, I had suffered really, really bad depression. It felt like I had lost myself. I did lose myself all over again.
Okay.
And in the midst of that, I said, I was like, Lord, I need to know what is going on because, in the church, you're here all the time. The only thing you need is faith. The only thing you need is faith. And so I was dealing with that battle of, is my faith not good enough, or is it's not strong enough, or what is wrong with me? Why I cannot be delivered? And so it actually went to my core. And some of the things that happened to me as I was growing up, being abused, and still hearing God love me as a child growing up, and it just didn't. I couldn't consolidate it in my mind. I was like, Lord, you said that you're love, and I don't understand. I felt like a second class citizen in the kingdom of God, in God's eyes. And so I was really on the quest. I need to know who you are. I really need to know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I need to know the God who said, I'm with you always, even to the end of the world. And even if I don't get well at this point, what can I do?
Okay, so let me ask you this. How did you go about redefining your life? Because that much vision loss, that now shakes a lot of components of your world. What about your independence? What about all of that? Explain how that happened.
that was actually one of the major shifts of my life, because I was very, very independent. I was a go getter. I did everything for myself, and I actually had the anthem of everything I got to work hard for it. So I mean, it was like I was independent, and because of the things that happened to me, I built walls around myself and said I had to do it. And so, not only did division laws change me, but it forced me to look at deeper issues and find the real me. I had to go deep within myself, with the Lord's help, and He had to show me where I had forged these strongholds in myself that were complete lies, that were not true. I was controlling because I felt like that I couldn't allow anyone close enough to me because they would hurt me, or I sheltered myself in the jobs that I were in, because I was management. I didn't have a boss. I had one major boss, but I was the boss. So I made the rules, and it made it easy for me to not see my true issues. I couldn't see myself.
That's a great, great point. Stop right there. Without having a boss and without that accountability, we can really stay very knotted, right? Because you don't have that checks and balances. Besides, of course, you have that, boss maybe over the entire company, but for the most part in management, it's like, here I am. So now, would you say that your condition forced you into almost a humbling? It forced you into a humility. It forced you also in a dependence. I'm saying into a dependence in a lot of different areas. Yes?
Every area, it forced me to dependence, because I mean, for the first several years, I couldn't go to the store without someone with me, because sometimes my vision would go out, because it wasn't stable. And so my mother or friends or family members would take me to the store, and they have to go inside with me. I had vertigo really bad, and so our balance was off, but I was still trying to be independent. It really took me a long time to flow into, it's okay to be like you are. It's okay to accept yourself. Because I had a problem. Even when people accepted me, I didn't, because of my own thoughts concerning who I was and who I thought I could be, or I thought I was supposed to be Superman, Superwoman.
I have a question. What are your thoughts? It's just a thought. Do you feel, especially because you're talking a lot about things that happened prior to you having the tumor, and once the tumor came and it had such a devastation on your life, is there a point where you think that some of the things that you did not address, maybe growing up, you're just your idea? Do you think it has the possibility of manifesting as disease or manifesting as different malignancies in our body?
I believe that wholeheartedly, and I believe that this was my situation. I believe that because of what I did not deal with, or because I didn't know it was there, that it caused all kinds of manifestations in this way. And I remember the Lord saying to me one time, "I have to rewrite your soul." I had been saved. I gave my life to the Lord. I loved Him, but my soul had already had all this damage from before that I had not dealt with.
Okay, so Shantae, stop. I'm only going to interrupt you 1 second, because you're saying things that if I don't know, my faith isn't where yours. I don't understand that. The Lord told me I have to rewrite your soul. That's real pretty and poetic, and I know that you are a woman of many beautiful, lovely words. But break it down for us, girl. What does that mean? He had to rewrite your soul, and what do you mean by you heard Him say?
When I say I heard Him say, from the inside of me, from my being, He was speaking. Just like your child knows your voice, I knew it was Him. I knew it was God. I knew in my being that it was Him. And it was based upon what His Word says. I was reading the scriptures. But when I said rewrite my soul, I'm saying that He had to, all the lies that I had believed, everything that I had believed as to be true about what happened to me and who I was, and as a result of what the things that happened to me, He had to tear all that down. He had to rebuild in me truth. And the truth is that he loved me because I did not believe that God loved me. I did not believe that. I mean, I was very successful. I did very well. I mean, I smiled in people's face. I loved people, and they never knew how I felt on the inside. So I walked around with a beautiful smile, with with success to in my career and business, and people thought everything was okay. But on the inside, I was crying.
Mm. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you. Stay right there. Don't you move, Shantae. We're not done. Hello, we are back. I'm Renee Joshua Porter, and you've tuned in to Working with What You Got. I have a delightful, special, wonderful guest with me today, Shantae Miller Christopher of Maryland. And Shantae was just sharing before our break her story in regards to what had taken place and really changed her life. And before we went to commercial, she was sharing that she was a very successful real estate professional, very independent. She had overcome a life of drugs and alcohol and different perils that plagued her family and was really living successfully. She had just developed a relationship with the Lord. And at that point, what happened was she developed a tumor and it ended up crushing her optic nerve and leaving her with what you would say is legally blind and 75% of her vision lost. So before our break, Shantae was sharing about the devastation that happens when you think that, okay, I'm successful, I'm doing things right, I'm full of faith, and then all of a sudden the breaks happen and your life ends up in a tailspin. And she's talking about the beauty that was able to evolve from this blindness. Shantae, please continue.
Well, what I want to say was, you know, I my name is Eye Opener. And that's the name that I heard the Lord say to me, Eye Opener. And I really believe that He used this experience, even though it was meant for evil, it was meant to crush me. He used it to bless me because actually my eyes opened. It opened to the truth of who I was. It caused me to really come face to face with who I was and to deal with that person. And with the Lord's help, He has really brought me on a different path because I was looking at my life through the goggles of my experience. The things that happened to me, that's how I view my life. That's how I view my world. And so He had to really show me that this is not how life is. This is only what happened to you. That's not who you are. What happened to you is not who you are. So I had to really learn who I was, and I would hear Him speak things to me like, "You were created to defy the odds. You were called to shatter every yoke of limitations." So I would hear this in my spirit, and it would be constantly going. When I tried to be depressed, these things would come up, and I would hear it, and I'm like, well. But you don't understand. I can't see. That was my thing. I can't. You're asking me. You're saying that I'm created to defy the odds, but the odds is I can't see. I mean, so where are we gonna go from here? And I really had to really trust Him to lead me, and I began to write. I began to write down things, and He was giving me poetry and words of inspiration. And one of the things that He used to do was, when I would see someone else that was down or depressed, I would go and minister to them. Sometimes I would be depressed, but He would ask me to minister to someone else. And just tell them I love you, or just tell them, how are you doing today, or just bless you, or, those little things, they mean a lot. And some people don't have that. And He's like, this is what I want you to do. That's how that's how I value life.
Okay, so once you started doing that, how did you get from that place to where you are now? Tell us about what evolved from those writing down those inspirations.
Well, I found out about a ministry called Voice of Christ International Ministries. And that's where actually we met. It's in Georgia, and I've been under her tutelage, Apostle Johnson, for years. and she taught me about the scribes and how they wrote and how that this is what I was valuable in God's eye. So when I saw value from the Word of God and from who He said I was. It changed my life. It changed my world. It was like, okay, my writing, my little bit of writing can do you good, or it can make it pleases you. And so I began to write and so I created cards, and words of inspiration, and I would just begin to give them to people. And so I have the Kingdom Collection was one of my first collections that I actually published.
And you have to stop because she's being very modest. She has beautiful greeting cards. If you can, and I'm sure Skype is not going to do it any justice, please lift up your greeting cards so that people can see them. They're beautiful cards. In fact, I have given them out on many times to different people because they're just beautiful. Hold it up a little bit more. We can't see it. Yeah, you have to block your face. Yeah.
And their card. I mean, Hallmark does beautiful cards, but these cards, to me, it really, I want to. It was God's told me to just let them know who they are. Not we can go we can our sometimes the outward is always in our world. That's all we see is the outward of things, the situations, the people. But we don't go inside. You are beautiful. You are kind, and you're valuable. And people need to know their value based upon who they are in God and not just what they do.
So tell me, what would you say are one of the biggest lessons that you learned that you could share with our audience about working with what you got based on your experience?
Based on my experience, I learned that God created, He didn't create junk. And everything that He created all of us. He created all of us in His image. And we were created in His likeness. And so that being said, we all have within us the ability to produce greatness through Him. And so that we're masterful designs.
Okay. And now what would you say is your projection for Shantae at this point? Where do you go from here?
Well, I am ministering in different places, different venues. The Lord opens up for me, telling people my testimony, telling them, let people know that God loves them. I think that's my central goal is to let people know that God really loves you, no matter where you find yourself, no matter what how little you think you are, or what you think you do not have or not have the ability to do, whether you're disabled, that we can always, there's something everyone has to offer. And just offer hope in life.
Now, there's somebody out there that's feeling forsaken. There's somebody out there that feels that this accident happened, this illness happened, maybe I'm cursed, or maybe I have bad luck, or maybe I did something wrong, or I'm being punished. All those things that goes through your mind when you come up against a series of storms. What was it that you were able to hold on to? Now, you shared about your faith, right? And you shared about facing, not seeing your life through the goggles of your past. What can you take 10 seconds and the average Joe encourage them right now?
I just want whoever out there to know that your life is not the way it seems. What has happened is not who you are or who God wants you to be. I would encourage anyone who does not know God to get to know Him, not religion, but to know Him. And He will take you on a journey that no man, no woman, nothing is out of this world, an experience out of this world.
Shantae, thank you. Thank you. Do you have more cards coming out?
I do. I'm working on a series of another collection that I'm working on now. Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, please keep us
But
posted.
you can, if anyone want to purchase them, I do have a website. It's Eye Opening Expressions and they're on sale there. They come in a pack of four cards for $12, and they're very inspirational. And I believe they'll be a blessing to those who purchase them.
They are. They're beautiful. Thank you, Shantae. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You helped to open our eyes. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this. Hi, we're back. I'm Renee Joshua Porter, and you've been tuning in to Working with What You Got. We had some special guests today. We had one of our viewers, one of my little sisters, Tandy Vasquez, in Georgia, and she shared a recipe, how she was inspired from the show. Then we had Shantae Miller Christopher from Maryland of Eye-Opening Expressions, and she talked about how through blindness, God birthed in her a vision, and she ended up having a greeting card line. And as I was thinking today about what I was going to share, because I end every show with a story, I started to think about an incident that happened to me. I would say it was probably about 20 years ago. I remember I was in the grocery store. I had just moved back to Long Island. My daughter was probably about 5 years old, and I was walking in the grocery store, and I saw a relative. And this relative is actually an in-law. And I saw this relative, and I realized that I didn't like her. And so I saw her down an aisle, and I went in another aisle, and I purposely avoided coming in contact with her. Because when I saw her when I came into the grocery store, I remembered when I was a kid that at times she was mean to me. And I also remembered one time she told my mother something that I did, and I got a spanking. And when I got that spanking, I remember seeing a smirk on her face as I got my butt beat. And so here I am, 20 something years old, and I'm seeing her, and I remembered that. And I'm saying, there she goes. I don't really want to speak to her, and I'm just going to avoid her. So I go up and down the aisles of the grocery store, avoiding her, and I get up to the register. I get up to the register, and there I am at the register, and they tell me what the price was for my items. I'm with my daughter's in the cart, and guess what? I had forgotten my wallet at home, and I didn't have any money on me. So the lines are all backed up. I have probably about $40 worth of items, grocery items, on the register, and I'm feeling totally embarrassed. And as I'm there trying to fish for my money, guess what? Here comes that relative. They said, "Oh, Renee, how are you?" And they turn around, and I'm kind of embarrassed. They said, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh, I forgot my wallet." They said, "Oh, no, I have money." And they paid for my grocery. And as I thanked them and I walked out, I could hear God talking to me. And I realized He allowed that to happen. There I was, walking up and down with all that unforgiveness, all that bitterness, and He allowed me to be humiliated and embarrassed at the register because I needed to let it go. And I am so certain that bitterness and anger and unforgiveness will dry up your money. I think it was symbolic. It dried up my money, and I didn't have the money there. So at that point, I realized whatever she had done when I was probably like 7 years old, I probably deserved it because I was probably a brat. And I needed to let it go. So as you move on in your life, I want you to think about the knots that might be tied up to unforgiveness, the knots that might be tied up to bitterness, that you're so busy looking at your past that you can't see your future and you can't see your destiny. It's food for thought. I want to give a special shout out today to my husband, Keith Porter, of 23 years, because today is our anniversary. I love you, I love you, I love you. And for us to close today, and in honor of Keith Porter and the love of my life, I have asked my friend, James Hughes, he's going to sing us out today. Remember, free your mind and the rest will follow. Take it away, James.
Sure, and I just want to thank you and say, Keith Porter,
Keith Porter.
you're a lucky man. But I don't. There's no free rides here, so I pay for my meal right here. This magic moment, so tender and so new, was like any other. When I kissed you, and then it happened. It took me by surprise. I knew that you felt it too. By the look in your eyes, sweeter than wine, softer than a summer's night. Everything I wanna have, whenever I hold you tight. This magic moment, while your lips are close to mine, will last forever, forever, till the end of time. Whoa, 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 whoa. Sweeter than wine, softer than the summer's night. Everything I wanna have, whenever I hold you tight. This magic moment, while your lips are close to mine, will last forever, forever, till the end of time. Whoa, whoa, whoa. This magic moment. Whoa, Thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Jim. And thanks for joining us. See you
You got
next
it.
week.